All right, welcome everybody. This is Remy Please of Overtime with the Flight Room. I am with Keys, Boo Boy, Corey Mo, the usuals, and our lovely guest, Penny L.A. Shepard. Penny is a fellow content creator, researcher, writer, singer, fighter, MK Ultra survivor, a straight up, human encyclopedia from the conversations we had. And I mean, you could say she's an inspiration for the character 11 on Stranger Things.
I
Welcome,
don't.
Penny.
I
Welcome.
thank you. I don't actually, Dave says that too, but I don't think the Duffer Brothers even know I exist, to tell you
Uh-huh.
the truth. So that would be like, I don't even know how to describe it because when I started, I'm a writer.
Hmm.
I've been writing since I was in sixth grade, and when I was coming out of MK Ultra, I started writing. It was actually a television script called Bradford and Valentine. So Bradford and Valentine, I wrote myself into it, and I separated myself into three characters because I had too much character for one character. It's not being egotistical. I just had a lot of
Hmm.
different, it was like me merging the two agents that they had given me, the two alter personas. Within a month they were already merged. Most people spend a lifetime trying to merge that, but I didn't because they were pretty much on the surface because they needed to utilize me in covert ops. So when I started writing Bradford and Valentine, it was an amalgamation of the TV shows Psyched, Lucifer, of course, and Castle.
Okay.
And so my character was Laura Adora Valentine. She's a DEA agent. She has a white shepherd named Cooper who wears a vest because he doesn't want to get shot. And then when I saw Bill Cooper, I started crying because like, do I know him? And
Okay.
when I woke up, seriously, when I woke up, so to speak, they call it an awakening, but I called it coming out of a coma. Essentially, when I started finding these people, I was like, everyone I wanted to talk to, they were dead.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I know this guy because I started part of my career in Arizona and he died in Eager, Arizona. He was shot because he didn't wear a vest. So the only person that I trusted as Laura Adora Valentine is my dog. It's a white shepherd.
Hmm.
And he actually had a ranch. He coined the phrase sheeple. So when I saw him, I was like, I know him from somewhere. Do I know him from Arizona? Because I started, you know, pronouncedly gigging in Lake Havasu in Arizona when I was with my first handler, Darrell, who I later came to find out it's my belief that he's actually the son of Albert Speer, who is Hitler's Minister of War and architect. And then I started asking questions when I was waking up. And I asked, why did my former agent, I'll just refer to him as John, why did John look like Joseph Mengele, Hitler's scientist? These are questions maybe you don't want to ask because you'll be declared enemy of the state, but that's not me. And I said, why does John look like Joseph Mengele? Why do I look like Irene Schoenbein, who married Joseph Mengele? And why does my murdered brother David look like their son Rolf? And David wrote a book entitled The Whistleblower, which was about the Vatican, Bush, and my evil family. And I remember I didn't get the book. I got a copy of the screenplay because I'm a writer and I've been a writer since I was young. And David says, "Hey, you're the writer in the family. Can you tell me how to write a screenplay?" I say, "No, you're going to have to actually like take a course on that. I can't teach you that over the phone, but basically I can elucidate to you the difference between the book and a screenplay. The book, you can use adverbs and descriptives and you can, provide what pictorial is of the scene. However, in a screenplay, you actually need to use dialogue
Hmm.
that's going to motivate you, and then you need to give screen directives to the cinematographers as to what they're going to be shooting, and then they do storyboards based on that. Because I've been in acting also. So I'm a trained actress. I was trained at Stella Adler Conservatory of Acting. I was trained as an actress when I was little. My mom was grooming us as doing acting and singing. And I remember the very first time I did anything remotely like that, I was like 3. And my mom, they had the reel to reels. I'm old, so I'm talking old tech.
Mm.
So it was like the a reel to reel, and I remember we did this thing on I think it was Machine Gun Kelly.
Hmm.
I'm not exactly sure who it was right now. Babyface Nelson, that's who it was. Babyface Nelson and my brother David, who's now dead. Um, she says, there's a line. She says, "Babyface Nelson, come out of the house." And then I say to him, "Hey, how much you get?" I'm like, "3, right? How much did you get?" As far as like the loot. So that was like my first thing that I can remember. Then at 58, I left my husband, who was a former San Diego Carlsbad PD, and he was a sergeant at one time. He got demoted. I'm not sure why, but he had told me that he was accused of rape. I think he actually did it now. And I was essentially given to him. So how a handler works is they are brought into your life. You think that that's just coincidental, but it's not. So my first handler that I was given to at 17, he was 30, was Durrell. And Durrell basically took me along to these different studios in Miami. And I sang backup for, I don't even know whose albums I sang on. When I start researching, some of the studios that I was at, my high school was North Miami Beach Senior High School. About 6 minutes from there was Criterion Records, and Criterion, Jackie Gleason was there. It's been there for a very long time. Gaga and everybody still goes down there, and they produced Hotel California. Part of Hotel California was done there in '76. So I was there at that studio in '76, and I don't know, I don't know who I was singing for, because they would just pull me in, and I would just do a vocal line, and of course I wouldn't get any credit because I'm the slave, so the slave doesn't get any credit.
Right.
And I would just go in, lay down a track, and if somebody is sick, like when I went to California, I started working with Andy Botner, who worked with Tony Tennille, and somehow Tony was in his family because he had worked and had gotten a couple of gold records. And then when I start coming out of MK Ultra, and I realized he knew Darrell, and he also knew my brother John. And I say, "Hey, don't you want to talk to your old student?" And I'm just pissed. And I say, "If I saw you right now, I would slap you across the face, because now I know what happened. And I know that for 60 years, or 58, 59, 60 years, these people are still lying about who they are, and lying about that they don't even know one another. That's frightening."
Yeah.
Okay, so wow. So we're gonna say this a lot during this episode, I'm sure. But all right, so in like layman's terms, because like we know, and maybe not a lot of our listeners know, like what is MK Ultra like to you? Like how can you explain like MK Ultra, and you explain like how you were writing to kind of come out of that kind of like that fog?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
what is and how did you come out of it?
Okay, so I have a different definition of MK Ultra. Many MK Ultra victims they're very fragmented, so they don't have a cohesiveness about them, and they can be easily triggered. But I am an actress, so I think that's why my cover, or my, if you would refer to like alter, because I don't feel that I have those anymore. I think I've integrated the two that were there because they used me for covert activities under hypnosis. So let me give you a couple broad spectrum understandings of MK Ultra as I understand it to be. Okay, so it's an anagram, not an anagram. Its actual meaning is manufactured killers utilizing lethal tradecraft requiring assassinations. Okay, so that would be one definition of it. Now, the other definition, which is more broad based, is I believe the entire world is under MK Ultra. Okay, in one form or another. All right. You can get to varying degrees of it, like Kathy O'Brien degrees, where they're DID, dissociative identity disorder, like Roseanne is multiple personality disorder. Okay. And the multiple personality disorder, I don't think you ever get over that. I really don't. Roseanne seems to still be having issues with that. But that would be the when we talk about like super soldiers, that's a form of MK Ultra.
Yeah,
And then, but
a
when we
lot of
talk about
coming out now too.
when we
Like
talk about the
yeah.
broad-based definition, it would incorporate. I speak on the military industrial entertainment complex, which I'm part of, which that is part of the military industrial complex. Okay, they're one and the same. They work hand in hand. One cannot work without the other. So we have the propagandist form of the MK Ultra endeavors, which would be the military industrial entertainment complex, which would be the DOJ, the DARPA, um, the CIA, the NSA, varying three-lettered agencies which are involved, the military, and then we have the Mockingbird media. We have the pastors. We have
Yeah.
the actual entertainment industry, which would be television. We have the Mockingbird media, which would involve all of written materials, which are
Man.
propagandized against us. We have the politicians. So there's a hierarchy under the Illuminatist agenda of the New World Order, which its currency is MK Ultra. Okay, so
Wow.
there's many broad-based definitions. There's this one guy who's like, oh well, you don't talk about MK Ultra like everybody else says. I'm like, and that's bad because it's not just
Right.
a sex slave. It's not just a presidential model. It's not just a covert asset. It involves a global agenda for controlling the populace of planet Earth.
Right.
Wow.
Man, yeah, that's a huge perspective, and if people like, I don't know, to like simplify it, like people love Mike Tyson, and we watch, his documentaries, and you will see him being actually hypnotized on camera by his trainer Customato, like literally hypnotized and just going on like pretty much, a killing spree in the ring, and he was literally, controlled. His mind was controlled, but yeah.
Yes. So it's your agents, your managers, your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your doctors, your lawyers, your employers, your pastors. They're all involved in MK Ultra mind control endeavors, and they're secret. They are the secret government. So I was also told by a friend of mine who said he was being groomed for a position in the White House. Who was independent, so he said he didn't have to deal with the Republican Democrat thing, but he declined, and he was also a vet. And he said, "Do you know who Phil Schneider is?" And I'm like, no. And he said, "Well, look him up." So I look him up, and then he says, "Do you know why Phil Schneider started talking?" I said, "No." And he said, after he got in that fight with the aliens, which they actually had technology. This is what Phil said. They had technology in them. So it's like either laser eyes or whatever, other hands or whatever. That's what they used. He said that after getting the firefight, that he went to a meeting and those same entities that he was fighting were there. And that's when he started talking.
That's crazy.
Man, yeah.
What?
Hey,
and my friend's now dead.
I remember Phil Schneider videos back in the day on YouTube, like when it was like the, how we said the Wild Wild West. But
The
now,
Wild Wild, yeah.
yeah, you cannot find that anymore. So
Right.
He's the one that went underground, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think he was at Dulce, and he got in a firefight. He was like
Los
he
Alamos.
was I'm not exactly sure where it was, but he was a tunneler, right? He was doing some tunneling,
Yeah.
and then he encountered these beings that had some kind of laser weaponry in their bodies, and then they whacked off a couple of his fingers.
Yep.
He wasn't doing this for attention. He ended up suicided. Red tie suicided or piano wire suicided, but
Per usual. Yep.
yeah, that when they hang themselves with a piano wire and then shoot themselves twice in the back of the head.
Yeah, something's a little fishy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But all right, so yeah, you touched on the entertainment industrial angle. So like, is there anybody you can point to now that's like we can like kind of relate to? Because us here on this show, we can go down the list, but like, is there anybody now that you can point to?
Well, I am on Dave Zublick's Dark Outpost on Fridays. They'll have this Friday off, and I speak about 3 hours on Hollywood. So what I do when I report, like on Johnny Depp, I'm not reporting on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in the trial. I'm actually reporting on Johnny Depp and all of his Hollywood acquaintances. So Johnny Depp and Amber are both very messed up individuals. When I started looking for pictures of myself, because they took all my pictures from me, so I didn't have pictures from childhood, and I was looking for anything that I had uploaded onto the web or that was in classmates.com. So I'm looking for my middle school, which I know I was erased in my middle school because I left these little Hansel and Gretel moments where I literally erased my picture out of the yearbook and I remembered it. Why would I erase my picture out of the yearbook? So I was telling myself I was erased. Okay. So this middle school that I went to, which I wasn't supposed to go to it. I lived in Miami Beach and I was in Dade County, but I went to school in Broward County, and I was told to say that my grandmother, who I thought was my fake grandmother, who might actually be my real grandmother, I was told to say that I lived with her, and I didn't like lying. So my mom had to actually say that lie. And I've been that way since I was a child. So I'm looking for pictures of myself at Henry D. Perry Middle School, and I find Johnny Depp's picture there. And I'm like, what in the actual hell? And so then I'm 5 years older than Johnny. So he has two sisters. He has one named Christy. I forget what I think the other girl's name is like Debbie. And so one's 2 years older than me and one's 2 years younger than me. And my cousin went to school with Depp and with Christy. So Christy was born in 61, Depp was born in 63, or Christy was born in 60. My cousin was born in 61, Depp was born in 63. So they went to Sunshine Elementary School. I had the same teachers as he did. So if Johnny was playing guitar in middle school, he must have gone to band and had Mr. DeZoba. But he had Mr. Brandis, who was my science teacher, and Mr. Brandis gave him a glowing report. And I know that school was an MK Ultra school. So I'm trying to figure out who Johnny is, right? So then when this comes up, then I start analyzing all of Johnny's connections. So one of his connections is Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder is in Stranger Things. Right?
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. And so she was his girlfriend for a period of time. And so
I on them too.
Yeah. So I say, okay, so what was her background? So I look at her background. One of her godfathers was Timothy Leary, MK Ultra psychologist. And then the other one was Allen Ginsberg. And Allen Ginsberg was NAMBLA, boy love.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. So then Johnny Depp, who's a total, drug addict, and his pal, his best friend, is Marilyn Manson. So I'm writing blogs, and I have my blog is my name, Shepard, Shepard, and the word entertainment .blogspot.com. So I've got like 35 chapters. Chapter 27, I believe, is about CIA Rose McGowan. She's CIA CAA Rose McGowan, and Jennifer Syme, who was Keanu Reeves' girlfriend, and Jennifer Syme, Hollywood Sacrifice, and then Ted Gundersen rises from the grave just in time for Halloween.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
kind of a
Yes.
long title.
Yeah. Penny's website is in this description of this video on YouTube, and it's going to be everywhere that we post this. But yes. Gundersen, right? Gundersen, and what's the connection with him and Michael Aquino?
Okay, so I am studying Gundersen, and I actually talked to some family members and to a granddaughter, who then proceeds to tell me that I'm a Satanist because I say her G-Pa was not a good man. And then I try to reiterate how the FBI actually was formed under tutu-wearing Satanist Hoover, who was raping little boys in Hollywood. And the currency, of course, has always been blackmail, pornography. That's what the CIA does, the FBI does, the NSA does. That's what they all do. They get blackmail. Yep. And so Gundersen was he was head of the FBI in Memphis, in Dallas, he had, and LA, and a couple other places. I think Albuquerque, and he was SAC, special agent in charge. And how did he get those gigs? Because he says, to pump himself up, that he worked the cases of Marilyn Monroe and JFK. Well, really? Because everybody lied about those cases. There's no truth in what we found out. So essentially what you're saying is that you covered up these cases and you want everyone to think that you're a great guy. So then I start researching him further, and I listen to Ed Opperman. When I research somebody, I don't just take one source. I try to go to people that knew these individuals. I try to, read literature on them. I try to listen to interviews. So Ed Opperman had done some interviews in which he was talking about the McMartin case. And he said that it was alleged that he was couch surfing. Gundersen was couch surfing, and he was like the Lonely Hearts Club. So he was getting with these widows and bilking them of money. And then he got with one of the McMartin women, who I think her daughter was a Vic, and she gave him the money to investigate the tunnels. And she said that he had been talking to Michael Aquino on a daily basis. Then eventually, at some point, he marries Anton LaVey's ex or widow, if you
The
will. They
Church of
never
Satan.
actually got married.
Yeah.
Diane Rivley. And then people were trying to convince me on other shows, oh, she became a Christian. I'm like, yeah, right. No effing way did she become a Christian. She wrote the Satanic Bible. She was eating children, eating human and drinking blood. So, hey, nice try. And then his granddaughter's calling me a Satanist because I'm calling him out for who he is. He's not who you think he is. He was COINTEL, and he even admitted he was COINTEL. So people don't understand, what is COINTELPRO? And I always used to think it was counterintelligence professionals, right? A counterintelligence program. But seriously, it is counterintelligence professionals. They do this as a profession. That's what the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, they're all trained in dissemination of disinformation.
Yeah.
So, that was his craft. He hid more than just JFK and Marilyn Monroe. He hid some copiously evil shit along his career that you will never know about. So people are like, well, why was he disclosing? Because I remember getting in an argument with my brother John, which I thought at that point it was kind of strange. Why am I arguing with my entertainment agent about some of these things? Because he's my handler. And about Gundersen. And he says, well, I say, because at the time I thought, oh, Gundersen, he's telling, I fell for it. He's telling everybody where the planes are that are dropping all these, these things on chemicals on people. He's got the tail numbers and da-da-da. He's a good guy. And they killed him with arsenic and his body turned black. And then later on, and so John says, well, his son says he died of cancer. And I'm like thinking later on, I'm thinking like, what? That is a weirdest conversation, right? How would you even know who Gundersen is, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, the whole when I heard you talking about Michael Aquino, and like for people who don't know, is Army Lieutenant Colonel, and pretty much he was the first chaplain of the U.S. Army for the Church of Satan. So, they gave him that avenue in our U.S. military. So,
Yeah.
So people to try to separate the two, now they gave this man the free lane to, go ahead and do your thing. And then the whole Presidio.
Right. The whole Presidio debacle where it was alleged, I don't know, I think it was like 200 children that complained, but then they whittled it down. And then, and the McMartin case was also another case, which was a precedent case too. And when I'm researching the McMartin case, they had this naked movie star game. And then I had watched Mrs. Doubtfire like 7 or 8 times with Robin Williams. And then when I'm working on both of them, I'm like, oh shit, Mrs. Doubtfire is Mrs. McMartin. I had a picture of Mrs. McMartin and a picture of Mrs. Doubtfire, and they look identical. They're wearing the same clothes, the same glasses, the same face. And I was like, shit, what? So think about this for just a second. So you're a little kid and you're being taken from these tunnels and you're playing the naked movie star game, but somebody's dressed in masks. So
Wow.
you
found
would
the
know,
mask. Yeah.
right?
They found the mess on U.S. military bases, and I think always like the dead giveaways. A lot of these children that were abused had venereal diseases. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what happened? The NSA came in and said, nope, not today, because he is he was retired AFIO, affiliated former Intel agents or officers. Okay. He also worked with John B. Alexander. John B. Alexander was the one that told me that he was dead. And I was like, yeah, sure he is. Nobody to, change his wiki. and then he said back to me, those who do not know that they do not know are fools. And so I said something even worse back to him. I said, well, I once was blind, but now I see, motherfucker.
Exactly.
and then I blocked him. But I didn't know who he was. And I was like, why is this guy on my friends list? Right. because I am 11 from Stranger Things, and I know stuff, and I work really hard on stuff, and I'm able to piece together certain things, and when they actually come together and they show to fruition, it's pretty astounding.
Yeah, I mean, this is like and of course, I know this is like, a serious subject, but this is like my favorite thing to research because it's just when you realize the degree of separation is closer than what you think,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it's so close, like from, Epstein
Yes.
to everything that we seen to Hollywood entertainment is just so closer than what you think. So,
I'm currently working with Megan Walsh, daughter of John Walsh, America's Most Wanted.
mhm.
Hmm.
I'm working with her for a year researching her father. Her father just took her 3 children and then had her 5-day-old baby taken by DCF under basically fraudulent charges because of who he is. He works with sheriffs, he works with CIA, he works with the presidents, he works with Scotland Yard, with Mossad, with FBI, CIA, NSA, DARPA. Works with pretty much every agency on the planet. And the reason why I believe it happened was because she started researching the death of her brother Adam, and then she asked her dad, "Hey, Dad, do you have any ties to Epstein?"
Mm.
Mm.
Bye
And
bye.
then when I'm researching some of the people that give to National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, one of them is L Brands, and that is Lex Wessner. Les Wessner. I keep calling him Lex because I think he's the real Lex Luthor. And
Yeah.
so he was when people don't know, he was the funder for Jeffrey Epstein. And he
Victoria's
also,
Secret.
what's it? Angel's
Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret.
Yeah.
The founder
A
of
lot,
Victoria's
yeah.
Secret.
A lot of the fashion industry I think is in that too. Cause even just like this past week, Bradley Cooper is now all cuzzled up with Uma
Howard,
Abedin. Uma Abedin. And Uma
right?
Abedin was like the right hand to Hillary Clinton. So it's like, and
So
then
is John Cusack.
yeah, so
John Cusack was his humor.
see, and then the whole Anthony Weiner thing, and then so
Seriously, change your name, dude. That's the
yeah.
worst. No, please, just
Yeah,
and then you got Geraldo in there pulling an Anthony Weiner. A couple years ago, posting naked pictures of himself on Twitter.
right.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But
Oh,
it's like all the same stuff, and then the Hunter, like Anthony Weiner has a laptop. Hunter Biden has a laptop. Like the the degree of separation is way smaller than what you think. So
yes, and so we have a president of the United States now who's compromised us with the CCP, and he's in bed with the Ukraine with biolabs out there, which were funded by the United States through the connections with Burisma, through Hunter, and then Hunter's out there winging his dingaling, and I mean, seriously, put some clothes on it, man. And just sliding down slides and, sitting there with his crack pipe. Do you realize that he was the only person that I have ever heard of that got kicked out of the Chateau Marmont? They kicked him out. And the heads of the entertainment industry was like, hey, if you want to have an affair, if you want to have a liaison with a little boy, if you want to kill somebody, want to do a snuff film, hey, come to Chateau Marmont. And,
right.
he's there, cooking crack. I mean, Jesus.
What?
Cooking crack in his room, and they were like, no, you can't come here anymore, I'm sorry.
Mm.
We're gonna kick you out. We can have murderers and stuff like that, but you're giving us a bad rep. That's awful.
Yeah. So Penny, what can you say to like the whole? I mean, obviously, like the government or whatever intelligence agencies run like a organized crime syndicate. Like, is there any like underground mafioso ties to everything that we see with this
Yes.
whole?
The Vatican, in my estimation, which runs the majority of the world, I believe, they're the mob. They're run by the mob. So the 5 families, they're just mob factions. We've always had since Jesus' time, the Pharisees, right? Those that had the cashola or that have the land or whatever it was that was of value at that time, those individuals were the elite. They were the controllers of the world. So nothing's changed since that time and this time. That's just, the five families coined the phrase, organized crime, because apparently the criminals weren't organized.
I'm sure they were. Yeah.
I remember when I started writing Bradford and Valentine, and I wrote to the DOJ, and I wanted to ask. I was in Lake Havasu. I was homeless for a bit, and then I ended up at my first handler's house after 40 years. Ended up spending 40 days and 40 nights in the desert with a Satan, not the Satan, but a Satan. And I was writing Bradford and Valentine. I went down to the bridge because I used to gig down there. When I first started, I was gigging out in Parker and Havasu. So I went down to the London Bridge, which the London Bridge was actually McCulloch founded Lake Havasu. He was a chainsaw guy. He went to London to get the London Bridge when it was falling down. London Bridge actually fell down. And so he got the pieces of the London Bridge and he brought them back to Arizona, and he put the London Bridge in Arizona as a tourist attraction. So when I went back there, I started remembering more and more stuff. So I was writing Bradford and Valentine, and I was writing it for James Patterson's masterclass because I literally had to learn how to walk and talk all over again. They chemically gave me a lobotomy.
Oh, wow.
I was walking on a walker in adult diapers. And completely erased. I had no memory whatsoever. And so I'm writing Bradford and Valentine. I go down to research, the genesis of Lake Havasu, McCulloch at the London Bridge. They have a little tourist center. I'm inside there. And then I talk to everybody because, I'm an entertainer. And so I'm like, hey, here's my card. My name is Penny Shepard. I'm a writer. Would you like to read this for me and tell me if you think it's okay? This is the trailer that I'm writing for James Patterson's masterclass. And so this one lady looks at it and she goes, well, I don't really read. And she reads it. And she goes, oh, I'd read this for sure, Penny. She says, hey, honey, take a look at this. So he looks at the trailer, and it's about, my characters, and they're in Branson. And so he reads it, and it's Laura Dora Valentine's a DEA agent. Her sister is Faith Esperanza Valentine. She's a world reporter. And then Chance Valentine is a singer. So all three of those characters are me because I've done all those things. So I say that they're in Branson, and I say they're interceding between the CIA, the FBI, and Interpol. He says, why are you using Interpol? I go, I don't know. I couldn't think of another agency. So he says to me, why don't you try the MOCIC? And so I make a joke. And I say, like MOUSC? He says, no, Petty, Google it. So I say, okay. So I look it up. It's a multi-organized crime investigative commission. It's tri-state organized crime commission. I didn't realize I was being followed by the CIA and the NSA wherever I went my entire life.
Wow.
Right. So, so I look it up, and then I say, all right, well, I'm going to change Interpol to the MOCIC, but I have to actually contact the agency and see if it's okay. So then I contact the agency, and I talked to Les Kerr, he's in Springfield, Missouri. And I explain a little bit about it. I say, can I use the acronym? And he's like, well, I don't know. And he transfers me to another person. And then when I pull into Branson, because I go to Branson twice, I pull into Branson, Les calls me. Now, he had told me that I was told they weren't operational, meaning they're not boots on the ground, so they wouldn't show up at a crime scene, right? Which, Interpol would, but MOCIC would not. So what is he actually telling me when he calls me when I roll down 76 on Country Boulevard in Branson? He's telling me that they're watching me from a SAT.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever like actually caught them watching you?
Oh yeah, I know that they followed me, but I was with these people. My husband was a sergeant, a retired sergeant, so I was being watched by him for 25 years.
Oh wow!
And I was also using covert activities. So they gave me from one handler to another. So after I leave Durrell, then I'm given to Steve Zenos, which his name means stranger.
Get out of here!
So of course I marry him. He's a guitar player. All right. I'm a singer. He's a damn good guitar player too. So I meet him out in Lake Havasu. They switch him up, right? Here comes, Durrell's out. Okay, throw Steve in. But he had to be a very good guitar player, because if he was a shitty guitar player, I would have said, hey, F off, right? Right. But he was a good guitar player. He played like Eddie Van Halen. He played with heart. Okay. So,
Eddie.
I mean, he didn't actually play with the band Heart. He played with heart. And so when I end up marrying him, I don't know that I've just married an agent. a deep state agent. I don't know really anything about him. In those days, we did not, I had a beeper that I wore on my jacket. If I was going to get a phone call, you had to beat me. I'd pull off of the freeway and find a telephone booth like Superman and get in there and call you. So, I mean, those were days where we didn't have cell phones. You tell children that now, they're like, wow, how old are you?
Right.
I didn't have a cell phone. Oh my God. Yeah. The cord didn't go that far.
Right.
The cord didn't follow me when I was in the car. So
Let me ask you something,
go ahead.
Penny. So with everything that like you've gone through, everything that you now know, like I find it hard to imagine like are there points and times like where you still feel like fragmented, because like it's like that is a lot to possibly to go through, and it seems like
no, I mean as in personality, no, but as in like my memory, yeah.
Okay.
I'm still trying to. I will be 105, still picking up the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a song? Pick up the pieces. Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Pick
I will-
up the pieces.
I was actually trained first in jazz, so know a lot of different jazz greats. Played with George Benson once at a party. It was at Tracy Austin's house. She was a tennis star, which my husband Steve grew up in Rolling Hills. He grew up in Palos Verdes. He went to Rolling Hills, and then his parents were teachers, but they were actually Greek mob, and also they became psychologists. So they had been in psychologist practice for 38 years. And then I found out this last year that they were working with Dr. Jolie West, who he ran UCLA psychiatric department. He was like the dean of the teaching facility at UCLA since 69 to 89. And Jolie West was an MK Ultra handler who killed an elephant with LSD. He worked with Sidney Gottlieb, who was biowarfare, and Alan Dulles, who was the head of the CIA under JFK. So they worked with Jolie West, and I didn't know any of this stuff.
It's just weird. Everything, like we always have this saying, like everything is connected. Like literally
The
everything
degrees of
is
separation
tied
is so
in.
close. Yeah.
Like there's no separation. You know what I'm
No.
saying?
Yeah.
Only separation is just between you and your mind. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's crazy.
I tell people, you know what? My story is my story, which I'm finding out. So I'll be researching my story for the remainder of my life, trying to fit together pieces of stuff that was missing from when I was raped, I was drugged, I was chained, I was caged. I mean, I know those times. I know, a lot of them, not all of them. There's memories that are coming back to me. I didn't remember that I was molested by my father. That took many years. That's part of what they do, the indoctrination. So now when I'm going backwards, and then I find my mom was gay, so why'd she marry my dad, right? And so my mom was in nursing school, and here's one of the ties to the Duffer Brothers. My mom was in North Carolina, so I'm not sure where she went to nursing school, but I know she was in North Carolina. So I think she went to Duke University, because I have these feelings about Duke University. And she went there. So she had my brother Rob in 52. So she was born in 30. So in 40, she would have been 10. In 50, she would have been 20. So at 18 or maybe younger, she goes back to North Carolina, goes to nursing school. Then she has an affair with this woman. She gets caught. Then she ends up with my dad, and who is in Germany. And then they go to New York with her girlfriend. So I think my mom was actually volunteered for MK Ultra, just like in Stranger Things, Terry Ives, who is the mother, volunteers for MK Ultra. And I believe that my mother volunteered for it because she was gay, right? So the whole marriage was a cover story for her, and then also a cover story for whatever agent my dad was, because it was weird that my handler, Darrell, he wants me to get back with my dad, who I hadn't seen since I was like 15. I thought he was out of state. He was 20 minutes away in Opelika, where there was a CIA like covert operation going on at Opelika Airport.
Mm.
Wow,
So-
that sounds like Mav and The Boys. You guys see that show Like,
Yeah, the
yeah,
boys. Yep.
that's
Yep.
one of the cover ups. She was gay. Once she found out that she was this superhero and superstar. That's one of the things that they cover up with her being gay. Just hearing you
Yeah.
say that about your mother, just
Just
yeah.
And then I found out it was actually she's my best friend. I call her Susie. I call her my sister, and we have the same abilities. So she can start storms, and she can, dispossess demons, and she can see things that happen in the future. She has dreams that come true, like the next day, stuff like that.
Oh wow.
And then I remember when my last handler, who sex trafficked me out of the crazy house because I became declared enemy of the state under James Clapper, and I was asked, "Do you want to end up like Snowden and Assange?" I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? How would I end up like Snowden and Assange? I'm a singer, for God's sake." And then I was told, "You don't know what you know until you know it," and I was like, "Oh my God, please, not more parables."
yeah.
And then I started finding out what I knew. And then when I was locked in there and I found out that my family are Hitlers, Eichmanns, Mengeles, and Spears. Oh my. My mom was a Hitler baby, right?
Oh
And
wow.
I'm locked up with 60 crazed, drugged people trying to kill me and friggin' ill and annoyed. I'll never go back there if I don't have to ever go back there, please.
So this is not because like I know like a lot of those from Mengele and Hitler, they like kind of ran to like Florida, South Florida.
Yes, they did.
Okay,
And
so
that's where the Paperclip project that I was born into. I was born in Hollywood, Florida.
right. If you look at Hunters on Amazon, it talks a lot about that too.
What's Hunters?
Hunters is a show on Amazon with Al Pacino.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
It
Talks a lot
really
about that.
creeped me out. Yeah.
Mhm.
De Niro went to Stella Adler's conservatory too. Those two are thick as thieves. I was studying under Stella Adler. And then when I'm starting, so then I recontact with John. And he's like, "Hey, you have too much personal stuff on your LinkedIn." I'm like, "What?" I just said I'm writing a book and I'm thinking about getting divorced. How personal is that? Now it's very personal. Now it says I'm the actual 11 from Stranger Things. And so then when I start researching, when I'm in the crazy house, the lady that cleans the toilet says to me, "Hey, you need to watch Stranger Things." And, everybody in this world is important. There's no piece of the puzzle that's too small. So I listen to her. I don't want to, but I do. And then I watch it and I start crying because I realize that little girl is me. And I send an email to Darrell, who of course doesn't answer. I say, "I know that's me." And my mom shaved my head until I was like in 7th grade. And the dress that she's wearing, that pink dress, I was like, "Oh my God, I had that dress when I was 3."
When she left, right?
Yeah, when she's wearing that. No,
So I got a question about
they
that.
give her a
The
pink
dress,
dress.
the
Yeah.
dress you got from Nancy.
Right.
Okay.
They give her a pink dress and it's got like this it's gathered here and it has blue and yellow threads in it. And there was a picture of me when I was 3 with the sister and the 2 brothers I grew up with. I did not grow up with John. So of course, when I meet him later on, I don't know he's my brother, he's my agent, and I fall in love with him, have an affair with him. 30 years later, guess who's coming to dinner? Your brother. Right?
Damn.
So
Of course, he denies it.
What?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he denies that we're even related through the Baumgartner name because of like, "Hey, you and I." This is how I started. I go, "You and I are related through the Baumgartner name because my grandmother was a Baumgartner, and my sister lied to me too. My real sister said we don't have any Baumgartners in the family." Then when my dad died in 2005 in North Carolina, because my family's from North Carolina, the Duffer brothers were born in Durham, North Carolina. And I had 2 twins that I was pregnant with. May of 1983. The Duffer brothers were born 9 months later, in February of 1984. I was pregnant with twins, twin boys. I saw them. They were twin boys with blue eyes and dark hair. The Duffer brothers have dark hair and blue eyes, and they're twins. And they were born in Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, I said we was gonna say this a lot. Like,
Now they do have the technology, which many
holy
people
shit.
say that they don't, but they have the technology to transplant fetuses, and they've had that for quite some time. And right now, you're seeing that they have the artificial womb, right? Well, they've
CRISPR.
had
Yeah.
that for
Oh
some time.
yes, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
They've
I
had that
CRISPR.
saw
for a
that.
long time.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, we did a whole episode on Clonade and CRISPR and all that stuff.
Yeah, so Clonade is in Riverside, right? Riverside, California. So I get taken to California, where uh, John was taken there when he was 8. He was born in Buffalo, New York, but he was raised in Brea
Okay, the breakout.
when he was
Okay.
8. So he's in California, right? And then I get taken to California, and I'd forgotten everything about, like, even where his office was. And I started coming out of MK Ultra. I ended up at Durrell's because they wanted to know what I was writing, because I write in code.
Mhm.
That's why I
Mhm.
freaked myself out, because I was like, oh shit, these are real people I'm writing about.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought I was making them all up. So that's why I think the Duffer Brothers, I don't think they even know I exist. They're telling everybody, yes, this is based upon off of Montauk, but Montauk was just one of thousands of projects. So when we go to Paperclip in Florida, and I'm born in Hollywood Memorial Hospital, and then when I contact Megan Walsh, I find out she's born in my hospital, and that's weird to
Yeah.
me, right?
Hmm.
And Hollywood, Florida was created basically in homage to Hollywood, California, by the developer who lived in Long Beach.
Hollywood. Yep.
Yeah, so he created the Hollywood in Florida in
Drew it.
homage to his
Yep.
favorite city, which is Hollywood, California.
California.
Then they bring all the stars down there. So what people don't understand is that Florida had more CIA agents in it than Langley. So it
Hmm.
was running Operation Underworld through Florida, which the underworld was working with the military, and they were doing this actually in World War One, and then they continued in World War Two, and they're working with the mob. And I was told that Luciano, actually, they said that they were sending him back to Italy, but they sent him. He ended up in Cuba, so he's working with Meyer Lansky, who Meyer Lansky was running operations out of the Fontainebleau Hotel, and then he was going.
Oh,
He spent
yep.
his courier to the Bahamas, to Paradise Island, to all the casinos in the out islands. Then Megan Walsh's dad was working in Paradise Island in the Bahamas. He was also working in the out islands, and they're creating straw corporations through there. So you've got this whole big, transnational criminal investigator, where they're going from the Caribbean to the United States, from the
To
coast
this
of
day.
Florida to California. Yeah. So all these seaports, all these little vestiges, and Florida is preferential because it's a peninsula. So there's like 1,000 little inlets. And then when they develop Disneyland, they're selling straw corporations. Nobody
Penny
wants
is
to know.
spitting right now.
Right. So
Do you think Disney World is well? Not think is Disney World have a lot of ties into it as well?
yes,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yes, it does. Disney was a 33rd degree Mason. I worked for Disney. I was, like I say, I was a singer. I sang for Disney for many, many years. And then I sang on Tomorrowland stage. I sang at the Cactus Lounge. I did Christmas parties like every year. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know they had a 33rd degree club. I was just like
Third
everybody
degree club.
else.
Yep.
I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And I played there a lot.
Yep.
No, man, that's crazy.
So is there any, and I'm gonna let you do your PowerPoint too, because I see your
Okay.
PowerPoint right here done too. But to I want to ask this question: is there any like foundations that you want to point out, or that we know, what I mean, that use as like a cover up, or like shell companies that we can point out to?
I would just basically say you need to actually examine every single company, and then go up the scale to find out who is puppeting that company. So
Because
you have your,
obviously, like Red Cross is like, I mean,
yeah,
clearly the symbol. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
which comes from
the Vatican.
from the Knights. Yes, it
Yeah,
goes all the way back to the
Templar.
Vatican,
Yep.
Knights Templar, and that was their thing. But of course, we all look at it, and if you really want to think about it, I mean, it's a great place for vampires to hang out. It's free food.
Queen. Yep.
The musicians love free food. Vampires love free blood.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp is in the Hollywood Vampires because he is a vampire.
Wow.
All right. So Penny, you want to grab hold of this
Yeah, so you got to pull me in there.
PowerPoint? Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So, a minute. Where did it go? Which
This is
way
the
did
first
it
time I
go?
try to do this, so like this is an experiment for us.
All right. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up here and
Okay,
push you
you got it.
over to the side. We over to the side. And okay, so let me make this just a little bit smaller so I can see a little bit of you. Okay.
No, we're fine. Do what you gotta do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't see you, so I want to see if you have anything to say. Okay, so this is the first slide where it says, my name, Penny Ellie Shepard, Agent X11. So the X came from being Mrs. Zenos. Okay.
Okay.
Dr. X. Dr. Zenos, Dr. X. That's what they call him, Dr. X. Believe it or not, I was married to Dr. X.
Gotcha.
And Zenos means stranger. I had a band named Stranger. So there's that. So I
Wow.
now call myself the Hollywood Dark Journalist. I report on Dave Zublick's Dark Outpost. I'll be off this Friday. And so this individual here is from in Canada. And he said, yes, I know that you're the actual real 11 in Stranger Things. And he made this video for me. He's called The Green Mine, which is funny because that was Joseph Mengele, a.k.a. Dr. Green. So he, and I'm going to cite 107 of the copyright, which is fair use. So if it's for copyrighted information, it's for the uses of teaching. So it permits you to show some copyrighted information. So this person used some copyrighted information in this. And you might want to put that disclaimer up also. You can find it on
No
YouTube.
problem. Yep. No
Okay,
problem.
so here we go.
Stranger Things based on a true story. Oh, is it? Here is the dance move generator. You're going to take turns hitting this button, which will randomly select a never-before-seen dance move. Whoever's turn it is has to make up a dance for that move, and the best dancer wins. Finn, generator, here we go. There's going to be a performance piece. It's going to be like birds. Yeah, okay, yeah, birds. Toast waffles. Toast. Oh, there's a toasty waffle.
Okay, now I wanted to stop this for a moment. When there are certain code words in, I decode the Stranger Things stuff. That's another thing. I decode movies because movies are real militarized strategized intel offered by
I
the
love
military
it.
industrial
Yes.
entertainment complex. Okay, so
Love it.
in here, when she goes in to get the Egos, I'm horrified. Everyone else is like, cool, she likes Egos. But I'm horrified because I know what it means. She goes into the freezer. She gets out the Egos. She's pissed. She slams the, grocery cart in front of this guy and just smashes the window as she goes out. Because actually what she's saying is let go of my frozen ovum.
Wow.
Because they took my ovum and my fetuses and they made babies and clones from my DNA.
Whoa.
Okay, here we go.
Waffles. Toast and waffles. Toast and waffles. You want the toast and waffles? I'm just thinking. Okay, good. All right, so this is toast and waffles. Bruce, can you get a beat?
Now I just stop it for one more second. In the thing, they have these two characters, Robin and Steve. And Robin and Steve Harrington. The Harringtons used to live next door to me, by the way, growing up. And my husband's name was Steve, and my brother's name is Robin. And Robin was in the Navy, and they're wearing Navy outfits. Just pretty much everything about this kind of pisses me off. But here we go. That account got nuked.
Yeah, but
I have that account still on IG. Okay, that's me.
On
Okay,
the left.
Penny.
Okay.
That's me in junior high school. That is Millie Bobby Brown. Okay, take a look at her face and look at mine.
She looks a lot like Natalie Portman too.
Yes, she does.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's why he laid the picture over like that.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
My mother's name was Millie.
Hmm.
My grandmother's name was Millie.
Hmm.
She painted my room green, by the way.
Hmm. And then Hopper.
Hopper looks like my brother David, who's dead now.
So how accurate was the show?
Well, it's very accurate, but it's coded. Okay.
Okay.
So when you're seeing interdimensional beings actually exist.
Yes, let's go
Yes, let's
No.
get into that. Yes.
When you're working in deep underground military bases with advanced technology,
there. Yes.
okay, these interdimensional beings exist. So when we go back to Phil Schneider said that those interdimensional beings were the secret government. They were running planet Earth.
I believe it.
Okay, and that also goes to the X-Files, which we'll get into the X-Files too. These characters are composites, all right? So they're composites of many different intel agents. So I was used for sexpionage, for espionage, for covert operations, unbeknownst to me. I did not know that I was even in this project because MK Ultra also is supposed to be undetectable, unbreakable mind control, but yet I was able to break it. But it was like the longest Rip Van Winkle ever, right? I'm 58 before I find out anything.
Wow.
And start gaining my memories back because they just erased the juju out of me, seriously. So here's I put this under Agent X11. So I'm 11. That's one of the names that I'm given, in which they're using me in covert operations as a child in deep underground military bases, which I think Johnny Depp was too. I don't think Johnny Depp knows that he was, or whatever turned him basically to the dark side. He was in my school. So that's very important to me. So when I'm researching him, there's a gentleman who's on Twitter who was involved with the OJ case, says he was one of OJ's drivers, and he's been researching a lot of things about the Depp trial and Amber Heard trial, and there's a bunch of really quacky factions in there, which they're just some psychopathic people that are attacking both myself and this other individual. And I won't name them. I won't even go into it. But when I start researching the Johnny Depp case, it brings me deeper and deeper into finding out who I am, because I find out that Johnny Depp went to my junior high school, and then I try to find out who is Johnny Depp. And this individual brought forth some information that said when Johnny Depp's father was divorcing his mother, that he went to a psychiatrist. So I'm like, okay. So, because I'm a researcher, I research everything. And then I go on, his name was like, I can't remember, it was like a Gari or some weird name. So I go and I find the obit for this guy. And he was a psychiatrist at the hospital I was born in. And
Oh wow.
and then the girl says, because there's a guy named Baresi who is a porn star who is a Hollywood fixer. And he's a Hollywood fixer also for Depp. So he's like saying, yes, Johnny Depp's dad tried to fix the relationship. Well, I don't believe that was true. In those days, you actually sometimes had to go see a psychiatrist in order to get the approval of the divorce, or get, custody of your kids, or whatever it was. Or maybe he just went there to get some, drugs because he needed some, Valium or something. I don't know. But I go to look at the psychiatrist, and then I find out that on the obit, this woman's mom was like Stella. And she says, yeah, Stella used to go to lunch with this doctor and Mr. West. And I'm like, Mr. West? That takes me back to, that's Dr. Jolie West. Dr. Jolie West is now in Florida. So did Dr. Jolie West know me when I was a child? Because it wasn't just Montauk. These doctors were going all over the world, just like Joseph Mengele did. He went all over the world to do his experiments. So he's going from hospital to hospital. He went to Stanford Research Center. I have a friend of mine who has a twin who said that she was experimented at Stanford University. I'm 2 years older than her, and she said she was taken there every year when she was a child. Her twin now is dead. And she said Joseph Mengele killed her and then brought her back to life because she wasn't compliant. So he was all over the place. He was in Florida. They were running MK Ultra projects all over the world, not just at Montauk. And I believe they had more than one chair. So I was thinking that I was housed at Montauk, but now I'm thinking that I was actually remote viewing from Montauk from probably Homestead Air Force Base, which is not too far from where they took me when I was in Miramar.
In
And that's
Florida.
where Johnny Depp was. Yes, in Florida. So what happened to Johnny Depp? Does Johnny Depp even know what happened to him? Because why is he at my junior high school? I don't just ask like about myself. I ask who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then I also tell everyone else, look, this is my life that I found out. So I don't need to justify it. And I
As
don't
you
need
should,
anybody
yeah.
to verify me. I know what the truth is. But I entreat you to now start looking at your family lineage, at your parents, if you have any missing time, at your teachers, at any military intervention, because they're in every single family. They're not just in mine.
That's real.
So I'll continue reading this. My name is Penny L.A. Shepard. I was born August 11th, 1958 in Hollywood, Florida, into MK Ultra's Project Genesis, Subproject Eve, which that's a cloning project in case there were any doubts, into Joseph Mengele's family, and into the military-industrial entertainment complex. I was used by my evil deep state family for covert operations as a psychic soldier for espionage, ciphering, transmission of messages, sexpionage, assassinations, and other covert activities presently unavailed to me. So I will be trying to pick up the pieces for like 105. I was genetically enhanced in utero and was forced to utilize certain psychic abilities under MK Ultra. I was used as a covert asset, aka agent. So people come to me and say, "Oh, so you work for the CIA?" Let me make it clear. I never drew a paycheck from the CIA. I never drew from the CIA. I never drew a paycheck from the FBI, but I did work for them unbeknownst to me. I gave them information. And I worked in a covert facilities doing covert operations, which is why they continually erase me. So you can be erased through light, you can be erased through drugging, you can be erased through hypnosis, you can be erased through electroshock and reprogrammed and come back set to zero, go back home and not know, it was nap time and they used you for, time traveling or some shit like that. You wake up and you're like, hey, I don't remember. I used to be able to do sign language. How come I can't do sign language anymore?
Damn.
There's like a little piece that's like missing, right?
So
Go ahead.
Penny, do you think you can like tap into like some type of remote viewing or even like lucid dreaming or anything of the sort?
Yes, I do have some of these abilities. I have abilities that are available to me, but they're not what you think. Like people are like, "Hey, what color shirt am I wearing?" I'm like, "Hey, F off, okay? I'm not a dog and pony show, okay?" It's not like that. It's like when my friend Chet Swift was murdered, and God basically told me, "Don't get in the car with him." I was mad at him, and I didn't get in the car, but I had these clocks, and I bought these clocks, and I finished putting them on my wall after I'd been followed. And they wanted to know if I was going to go see my sister Susie, who was with Chet, involved in a shooting in which Chet was murdered on our ranch, which was Camp Swift. His last name was Chet Swift, and he was related to Taylor Swift, and he died on Camp Swift, and he looked like Eben Swift, who Camp Swift was named after, and Camp Swift was a German POW internment camp. And
Wow.
Chet, his commanding officer, was Michael Aquino. He was in the Air Force. He ran point and recon. He was 73 to 93. He ran 8 or 9 tours in Southeast Asia. He ran security details. He was training DEA and cadaver dogs with his dad when he was 10. So he had been, fully prepped for going into the military. Went in and did special forces. And he was special ops. He was in Germany. He was special ops for the Queen of England, for Chancellor Kohl of Germany, for Princess Margaret, for Nixon. I've got a picture of him in front of Nixon's plane. For he said for Elvis, he was going to get a job at the White House under Michael Kavanaugh, who Michael Kavanaugh recently died. They said he had a remote heart attack, and allegedly Corey Good was there. So that's kind of interesting. But I digress. Okay, I was genetically enhanced in utero and was forced to utilize certain psychic abilities under MK Ultra. What I was going to say was at the end of this, before Chet died, I ordered 10 clocks and I put the 10 clocks on the wall, and Chet died at 10 o'clock that night.
Oh,
Wow.
That's how it works. It's not like, hey, what color shirt am I wearing? You know, just really don't. You know, it's not like that. It's like knowing things in advance, and it's not just a knowing. I don't just rely on a knowing or my intuition, which they tell you everyone has extrasensory abilities. Everyone has telepathic abilities.
Absolutely.
Everyone has these abilities, but they tell you when you're a kid, if you have these abilities, or if you're hearing something in your head, you're schizophrenic. If you're hearing somebody's voice, mothers have it all the time. They hear their children. That's not schizophrenic. You actually have telepathic abilities, but they tell you that it's not real because they're lying to you. Everyone has these abilities. You just need to enhance them and trust your gut and know, and then do the research too to verify, hey, is there any validity to, you know, some of these things? But then after a while, you start understanding how it's used. When I got sex trafficked out of the crazy house, he was a commander at the DAV, which is Disabled American Veterans in Chicago. And I met him at a Starbucks, and I was angry because he was late. And I said, I'm so mad. And it wasn't just because of that. I said, I'm so mad I could pick my car up and smash it in the window. And he said, please don't. And I was like, what? What do you mean, please don't? Can I do that?
Damn.
And then also, I started a storm. And I didn't know I started the storm. But
Please
people at the
explain. What is
Starbucks was like, Penny, did you start the storm? So I was at a Starbucks in Wisconsin, and I thought I was finding out all these bad things about John. So I texted him and I said, I'm pissed with 5,000 S's and 1 T. And he says, why? And he knows that's going to make me even angrier. And I say, because all my family are psychopaths and criminals, and you're one of them. And then I say, crawl back in the hole you crawled out of. And I've been praying for a tornado all day long for Branson, because Branson's very evil. So the lights go off in the Starbucks, and the police come, the fire trucks come, and an ambulance comes. And I've been reading from a script from Supernatural, which I've learned not to do that anymore. That's like just so bad. I can't even say.
Pretty good show.
Yeah, because it's real. They're actually doing real spells.
Oh wow.
So I'm when everything goes out, the people in the Starbucks come over. They say, Penny, did you start the storm? It's like, really? I go, I don't know. They go, no, seriously, did you start this storm? And I go, I don't think so. I was praying for a tornado. They go, you've been praying for a tornado all day long. Did you start this storm? And I'm like, I was praying for a tornado in Branson, you know. And they go, really? Because I think you missed your mark, you know, because this one's all over Chicago, and it shut down Capitol Boulevard.
Midwest, yep.
And so I said, well, I think it's time for me to go. So I called my handler. I said, I'm coming to see you. But I was so upset when I got in the car. I got in and I was crying. And the more I cried, the harder it rained. And I was really angry. And I put my hand in front of the windshield, and I said, I want all the cars off the freeway. And all the cars got off the freeway. And I was alone. And then George called me and said, did you start the storm? I said, I wish everyone would stop asking me that. I go, can I do that? He's like, yes, you can. I know it was you, because when I saw the lightning, I fell to my feet. And I know it was you. That's why I'm calling you. He says, slow the car down. I go, I'm not going fast. I go the speed limit, besides which there's no cars on the freeway, George. And then he says, I say, I don't think I can stop the storm. I say, I want the planes to fall from the sky, but I don't want them to hurt any good people. I just want the evil people to just be destroyed, and I want the planes to just smash. And I was crying harder and harder and harder. By the time I got to see him, I stopped the car, stopped my truck, and I dropped my keys in his hand, and the storm stopped.
Hmm.
Wow.
I didn't know I could do that, but I'm not the only one that can do that. It's a kinetic energy. We are all energy. Every single person on this planet is made of electricity. If you get
Absolutely.
angry enough, which is what they do to you in these programs, when they're raping you, they're locking you up, they're trying to tell you, kill the cat. I wouldn't kill a cat. I don't
Is it?
particularly
And it's
like
crazy, just like in Stranger Things, 11 is at her strongest whenever she's like at her angriest.
But not just
You
Stranger
know?
Things. Think about like a lot of the heroic movies. Like when they want someone to reach their full capacity, they want them to remember some traumatic trauma that they had in their past to
Yeah.
get them to reach their highest peak. Like what's his name? Magneto on X-Men.
Mhm. Somebody asked me if I was going to actually open a school for X-Men. Like, seriously, I don't have any money. They took everything from me.
Right.
They took my houses, they took my pictures, they took my clothes. I'm like, I feel like Jesus, took everything and sold it. They took my studios, you know. I took everything, and then I ended up disabled where I couldn't remember anything. I had to learn to walk and talk all over again.
Mm.
Hmm. So is there because like obviously we talk about in like popular like new age culture we talk about Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. What do you think? Like, what is your estimate of like how this outcome is going to come about? Because uh, people are not really happy about um the deciding of these big popular culture.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't think we're going to be availed of any truth to tell you the truth,
mm-hmm,
because there's two people that one disappeared, which I don't actually think he's dead, because he gave billions of dollars
mm,
to scientists who are cloning.
mm,
And that's not, we can only speculate, right, because we weren't there, but they said that he was taken out of his cell at one time point and then brought back to his cell. Who was actually brought back to the cell? Was it a clone? Where would he possibly be? um you know but these people are just, they're the tip of the iceberg. Why are none of the procurers being prosecuted? What happened to there? And we're not just talking about children that were sex trafficked. We're talking about children that were disappeared and murdered, or maybe they're still being held in some deep underground military base, being experimented on and tortured, and we'll never see the light of day, or they're somewhere in some other caged environment in someone's home, or they're being sex slaved throughout the universe, or taken to another planet. I don't know. Disappeared.
Do you think? Do you think a lot of the these? Well, not think, but do you think like a lot of these young ladies that are being like kidnapped right now, they have a lot to do with this as well?
Yes. There's a one individual who's I'm friends with her mom. Her name is Allie Carter. Have you heard of her?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Google her. She says she was under the Getty. She was in California. I told her she needed to leave. I gave her where my brother's address was. She's very familiar with the Riverside area, which, he's out there. Allie Carter has been speaking about being sex trafficked with Jay-Z, Beyonce, and then another individual, Madison Marquette, is talking about being sex trafficked by Biden and by the pastors who I know the pastors. And when I start, here's how the writing works.
is there any connection with Gabby Petito?
I don't know.
Okay,
Gabby Petito and Laundrie were both from Long Island.
because I know like when they would start fishing out her remains, there was a lot of different other bodies they were uncovering, which was
I think she was most assuredly sex trafficked. Maybe again,
but like that
unbeknownst
whole
to
little like
her.
canyon area, they were like finding other people's remains out of that, what I mean, that were missing for years. So it
Right.
was just weird to me.
Well, maybe that was a human sacrifice point in which Brian took her there. But, John Walsh came out and just basically said, hey, he should kill himself, which you should never say that
Hmm.
ever on air. He promoted and incited violence,
Yeah.
which that was wrong. And then Dog the Bounty Hunter jumped on board
Mm-mm.
and then started going through. I was like, oh God, Dog is here. Shit. You know, Dog made the rounds. Is that his helicopter? Does he have a helicopter? You know, um, and so he starts draining the swamp. And then, of course, the parents go there and then they find the kid, which they looked for him out there before, but the parents go there and now all of a sudden they can find him.
Right. What a coincidence.
So, if you who's running the share?
Remy.
Remy is.
Remy.
Okay, because I have a couple more slides that I want to show.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Kind of monopolizing everything, aren't I?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, you're good.
I mean, it's a lot of this, like, I mean, from the conversations that we have, especially on our show, like, this is like, it taps directly in with everything that we always talk about. Especially, like, when you talk about the movies and how they, like, are, like, so now, like, even like now, like, if I'm watching movies with my kids, they hate it because I'm really dissecting and I'm like, how does this connect from this to that and to how we, to our reality? And they don't think that, like, they think I'm crazy, but I'm like, no, this has to mean something, especially like with the Marvel movies. What do you think about those Marvel
Yes, the
movies?
DC Marvel movies are real. So mythos is real. So the whole Thor thing is real. As a matter of fact, I was talking about it when we were talking about the multiverses because I started watching Flash, and Flash talks about the multiverses. It talks about time travel,
Right.
and I was talking about that in conjunction with CERN. What is CERN doing? Is CERN engendering dark matter
Oh
and then
wow.
bringing dark entities in
Hmm.
through the dark
We
matter?
were talking about that. Yeah.
Where they held me 45 minutes from Fermilab. Fermilab is the second largest large hadron collider, which is in the United States, and it's in Illinois.
Mhm.
Did you know that?
No.
I didn't either until I got locked up and I had a lot of time on my hands.
Wow.
Too much
And,
time on my hands. Right?
and they actually like use these for like time traveling and everything.
Well, they say that it will open a black hole. And a black hole, if you go to the premise of Stephen Hawkins basically said, don't do it because you could essentially explode the world.
Mhm.
Mm.
And people are like, oh, no, let's do it. And, and what are they doing at CERN? If you watch any of the CERN openings, it's just all satanic stuff. I mean, you just look at it and your mouth drops. You're like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
It's like Little Nas Satan Shoes starts out as like this harmless, cowboy dude. And the next thing he's doing a strip dance with, a pole dance with Satan upside down, twists his head off.
Yeah.
And put the crown on. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
And then he's selling his Little Nas Satan shoes with blood in them. And they, of course, Miley Cyrus buys the first pair. They sold out in like, probably 60 seconds or 666 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man. And
So-
like,
So sorry, but yeah.
That's okay. So I was going to say,
Permalab, yeah, I heard y'all.
can I reshare my
Yep.
screen because I've got a couple more slides that I want to go through. So I'll just end with this one. I was genetically enhanced in utero and was forced to utilize certain psychic abilities under MP Ultra. I was used as a covert asset, aka agent. My agent names were 11 and X, hence I go by Agent X11. Also, Penny is short for Penelope, which the AKA for Penelope is L, which that is 11. That's what she goes by, L. And also my birthday is on August 11th. So anybody that wants to send me a present, On August
Coming up.
11th,
Yep.
I got you.
I was erased after all missions, much like Jason Bourne in The Bourne Identity, only I never volunteered. So I will be examining Jason Bourne too, because I started researching J-Lo and oh God, who did she just marry?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Yes, Ben Affleck. And then I started researching Ben Affleck, who was in Argo. And also, after Goodwill Hunting, he ended up at Camp David with Clinton.
Wow.
Right. So who is Ben Affleck? I'm gonna continue that, not this week, but next week on the Dark Outpost. So here are some of the things that I did in the entertainment industry. Just a few pictures that I could get. You know, this is me on my 10th anniversary when I married to my second husband on the Hornblower. When I went above ground, they basically on the ship, they started taking film. All these people I didn't even know, they were taking film of me and snapping pictures of me, and I was like, "Wow, this is weird." So I wonder who actually the captain was. You know, I did this. It was Mrs. Mission Valley, and the only reason I did it was because I wanted to volunteer for Ronald McDonald House. My band wouldn't come down to San Diego, so I wanted to give the kids something so that they would think somebody special came to see them. That's the only reason I did that.
Aw.
And then this is Mrs. USA Rose, and this is my band Stinger. That's me. And so I say I was sex trafficked and used in the military industrial entertainment complex, which I worked within for almost half a century as a singer, model, actress, and writer. Additionally, I worked as an executive assistant in major corporations. I was also a technologist who worked in the legal arena. And also at one time, I ran my own legal business. I have a BS in business, which is exactly what it says, BS. And technology, and an MA in education, and a minor in psychology, which I say I should have a major in psychology from all the bullshit that I went through. My first handler was a man named Darrell, who I found out in 2017 is the son of Albert Speer, Hitler's Minister of War. This is me in his band Big Business, which I say that's my Russian guitar player, and my drummer is behind me, and this is my bass player who knows Alice Cooper and has snakes on his wine in his bistro in Chandler. It's not like I don't like him or anything. It's just a really long story. You get jaded. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is Darrell, and that's Albert Speer.
Wow.
Albert Speer, Darrell. Albert Speer, Darrell. Albert Speer, Darrell. And then this is
Brenner.
the guy who's playing Brenner, right? And every time I see Brenner, I want to say Brennan, because there's a woman named Jessie Zabotar who said she was trained by a Nazi named Karkoch with Mike Lucchino and John Brennan, who was head of the CIA under Obama, right? In Rockford, Illinois. And I was held 30 minutes from there for a year in a crazy house. It's messed up, dude.
Yep.
Messed up. I can't even say. Now, this is Steve. Stenos means stranger. Look it up. I was Mrs. Stranger. I'd like to say I wasn't, but I was, unfortunately. That's Steve. He looked like a clean-cut guy, except when I see him in high school, he looks like a Satanist. Seriously, I was like, oh, man, if I saw you in high school, I never would have gotten with you. That's Bob, my drummer. And then they send Steve in after I leave Drill, right? Always a handler, right? And you marry your handler. So that's Steve at somebody's wedding. I don't know. And Steve's parents Steve actually went to school with Patricia Tate, who was the younger, I think it was named, no, Patty Tate, who was the youngest sister of Sharon. And they also had a Manson in that class, which I thought that was really messed up, man. Why would they have a Manson at that school? And so Steve went to Rolling Hills in Palos Verdes, and then in Palos Verdes High, where his parents taught, they made a movie about two of the people that went there. I think it was Christopher Boyce. I always get their names confused, but the movie is called Falcon and the Snowman, about one of them that worked at TRW. They sold secrets, and this is a true story, and they were arrested for espionage. They were given 40 years. And Steve bought blow from the Snowman because that's why he was called the Snowman.
Right.
And his father also was in the industry. He went to Hollywood High School. He was also a horn player, so he was a jazz player. So he toured with some of the jazz greats, Stan Getz probably, and Megan Walsh's aunt Jane toured with Stan and was Stan Getz's lover. And Stan was a heroin addict and an alcoholic, and apparently so was Megan Walsh's Aunt Jane. My next handler husband, Steve Zenos, was a therapist with a master's in psychology, and his friends called him Dr. X. Zenos means stranger. I was literally Miss Stranger, Mrs. Stranger. Steve ran his parents' psychological practice. Both his parents were MFCCs, that means marriage family crisis counselors, for over 38 years. They used NLP, which means neuro-linguistic programming, on me. It's the most potent form of hypnosis that there is, and took my DNA. Babies and clones were made from my ovum and my fetuses. The Zenos family worked with Dr. Jolie West, you can Google that, and Margaret Singer, both MK Ultra handlers who work with Alan Dulles, head of the CIA under Kennedy, and one of the heads of MK Ultra.
Mm.
I've got like just a couple more slides. So then this actually came from the X-Files, okay? He says, he actually coins the phrase the military industrial entertainment complex. So the X-Files are the MK Ultra files, and they tell you that in season 11. I'm not sure which one it is in season 11 in which they bring that forth, because they're bringing them back. It might be the very first one where they show you that the MK Ultra files are the X-Files that were given from the CIA to the FBI. From the FBI, they were outsourced by a Blackwater firm, and then they were breached digitally.
Wow.
And then they were brought back into the FBI. So they're a real thing. The X-Files started on a wiki case of xenotransplantation. Now, if you remember, I married Dr. Zeno. Dr. Zenos, okay. Xenotransplantation is the transfers of genetic materials from one species to another. So I married Steve. He had his master's in psychology, just, for refreshing. And his friends called him Dr. X. And I'm a trained MK Ultra psychic super soldier. Now, here's where we get more into the X-Files. My second husband that I was given to, when I left John, I'm given to this person, handed to the next handler.
Look at those pictures.
That's Sam. That's Sam Van Hooser. Can you see it?
Yeah, look at those pictures, though.
Okay, so that's Sam. That's David. Sam, David. So it's a little bit lighter because he went out into the sun. David probably was a couch potato and sat inside. And I found out he's a guitarist, which freaked me out too. And then this is Sam. I didn't have any pictures because I took everything. I actually had to buy his yearbook on friggin' eBay. Save my pennies to buy it. Literally, I'm a penny, but I had to save my pennies.
Bars.
Right? So here's Sam Van Hooser, second husband, handler and spy, intel agent, Carlsbad PD sergeant, retired. Sam worked with X-Files for the Deep State CIA because he worked with my brother, John, who is Deep State CIA, head of MK Ultra. My second husband, Sam Van Hooser, looked like David Duchovny. He'd been a sheriff at one time, an EMT, a Carlsbad, California sergeant, a trained drug recognition expert. They call him a DRE, like Dr. Dre, right? Not even kidding. He worked on X-Files and interfaced with the entertainment industry, CIA, DIA, NSA, DEA, and FBI. Now we get a little bit further. The X-Files are based on real deep state operatives, and the individuals in X-Files are composites. That means that there's many different people that comprise one of the characters. They're composites of many intel agents. So this is Gillian Anderson. That's me. That's Irene Mengele, who married Joseph Mengele. Her name's Irene Schoenbein. And me. And then that's Sam. And then over here is David Duchovny and Sam's son, Daniel, both in the helicopters. And me and Gillian. And then when I was looking, I went back to get my ID from California. And I got my first wedding certificate to Steve and then to Sam, and my DBA and my name change. And I wanted to talk to the chief of police in Carlsbad. And so I was upset. So I Googled chief of police in Carlsbad. Well, what came up was Sean Skinner in Carlsbad, New Mexico. Right. So if you watch the X-Files,
he was the head, right? Agent Skinner.
Assistant Director Skinner.
Yeah.
Mitch Pleggy, right?
Yeah.
So this guy, his name is Sean Skinner. He became the head of Carlsbad, New Mexico, chief of police. He looks like Skinner. You can't really see, because it's kind of small. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you and turn it up. Let me see if I can make it. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy looks like him. He's got glasses on. That's
Oh,
it
damn,
doesn't get
yeah.
that black, right? And Carlsbad, New Mexico, its surrounding region that it's a protectorate of is Roswell.
Hmm.
You know what Roswell is, right?
New
Yep.
Mexico.
Right. Why don't you tell everyone what Roswell is?
Well, the most illustrious underground base.
Yeah, that's where the
First UFO crash.
yes, that's where the first UFO crash was found, and it actually fostered the foundation of the CIA, the NSA. So the intel agencies were always intel agencies, but they centralized them. And then it was the founding of the NSA, and then also 10 years later NASA. But it had a forerunner to NASA. It was an aerodynamic company, which all came out of Roswell under Vannevar Bush. So you might want to look that name up, Vannevar
Okay.
Bush. So here I define also, this is a Time magazine that I put together. Somebody sent it to me with a rabbit on it. And so I said, time's up, John, TikTok. Time magazine. And then this is my collage with just some various things. Let's see if I can make it bigger. And here, where that's the rabbit again, that's a picture of John. This is a picture right here, which is in it was in a church in Barrington, Illinois, in a prayer and worship room. It's an ET. Yeah, I'll send
Do
you
you
that
think
later.
there's like a significance between like the Midwest and the other parts of the states?
I don't know, man. I think that see if I can make that bigger and move it a little bit further. Let's not let me do it. I think that something really wiggy about Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really,
Even-
really wiggy about Illinois.
Illinois, Ohio.
This is me as a child. That's not the same dress that I had when I was really little, but my mom shaved my head. And so you see I'm wearing a pink dress with the collar, but it's not the same dress, but I had that same dress. My mom shaved my head like that. So you can see it's a little bit grown out. That's a little MK Ultra girl. There's another individual who says that that's her, but I don't, it could be any one of us. I look at it that way. I mean, it looks like me. It looks like 1,000 children at that age, and I'm older than that individual who said that it was her. So I don't stake claim to that. And then after I started talking to her, and then she started telling people that she was 11, and then that made me angry, like this kind of angry. That's me in high school. I don't know what they did, but I was in the back of a car. And I was really angry. This picture right here is a clone of John in the X-Files, season 11, episode 4, Lost Art of Forehead Sweat, about Thaddeus Q. They, which Carl Thaddeus Mengele was the father of Joseph Mengele, and then also his brother had the same name. And so that this Lost Art of Forehead Sweat, season 11, episode 4, if you haven't seen it, you might want to watch it. They attribute the Mandela effect to Joseph Mengele. And then people within my family were actually in the Trump administration.
Wow.
I will tell you that off air. And then this was a friend of mine who was kidnapped in Saudi Arabia, actually under Brennan, because I showed her a picture of Brennan and she started crying. She had this face app, and she was held in the Saudi jail for 17 days. She's like, I was hardly tortured. And so she had this face app where she put, her face over these different people, right? So that's me. That's my face.
Oh wow. Spitting.
So my name is Penny Shepard. I'm the real 11, born August 11th, 1958. I was raised in Ives Estates in Miami, Florida. Millie Bobby Brown plays 11, a.k.a. Jane Ives. Jane is in Jane Doe, an unknown from Ives. My mother was Millie, and she was a Hitler baby. So that's the end of my slideshow. This is just my contact information.
So Penny, we touched on a lot of things, and to kind of wrap it up, it's like, how does like the everyday person kind of interject and make a difference in this type of serious conversation? Like, how do we?
Start researching. The
Yeah.
research will avail you of knowledge. Start researching your own family. Okay, that's what I started doing because I'm serious. They've made movies about all of us. You just have to find out, who you are in these movies. If you're like, oh, that person reminds me of me, start researching it seriously. Find out who in your family was in the military. Find out, because these agents are in every single family. It's not like they skipped a family and they're not in somebody's family. It's an uncle or a grandfather or your neighbor who maybe you didn't, find out your actual genealogy because
Hmm.
I knew that my name was not my name when I was a child, which is weird, right? I knew that was not my name. So then later on in life, I asked God, what's my name? And I was praying in Escondido in Emmanuel Faith before I went to go do a country gig with a band called Way Out West. And I said, God, please tell me my name. And I had just left, John's employ. And he said, your name is Shepard. Go down to the courthouse and change it and never change it again. I was like, okay, I do what God tells me to do. So I went down and I changed it. Never changed it again. I didn't understand its implications until 30 years later when I'm out in Illinois and an orchestra leader asked me to represent him. And I'm like, okay, what should I call this endeavor? Because I'm like on disability, trying to learn how to walk and talk all over again. And God says, call it Shepherd Entertainment Endeavors. Now, if I changed my name, it would have been Van Hooser and it would have been Van Hooser Entertainment Endeavors, right?
Hmm.
But it wasn't. It was Shepherd Entertainment Endeavors. The acronym is C. And I was like, wow, I really like that acronym. God, thanks. Right.
Hmm.
Because that's what I do see. I do see. So I encourage everyone to see. And when you're doing your research, it works a little bit better if you believe that anything is possible. Anything that is possible is possible.
Yes.
You start with that premise, and then you're going to get much further into your research. I help people find out some of their genealogy just through a very unusual means. I don't do uh, genealogy.com or whatever, I don't do any of
23andMe.
those things. Yeah, I don't do any of those. I do it the way that I had to do everything was just basically through a back door. And then I take the names apart because I cipher them. And like Goldbergs would be the Golds, somebody that had something to do with gold that lived near mountains. And then like the Schmidts in Germany, when they came over, they became the Smiths. So genealogically, they're all linked, but maybe the Schmidts moved to, another region. They moved to China or whatever. So, I do it from an unusual manner. So I encourage everyone research your own genealogy. You don't have to pay money to do this. If you want some help, I can throw some things at you, but it's incumbent upon you to do the research yourself. Nobody lived your life, so no one's going to be. I have people that come to me and they're like, hey, I'm missing a lot of time. I say, well, I can help you get that time. I can just tell you how I did it. And I did it through writing, through research, and through examination of movies, which I knew that these individuals, the characters, were components of me. And you'll recognize it when you see it. Like I said, is it the archons that are in fact the
Hey.
ones that are running everything, and the archons? Because I mean, when I did this pilot, my band was in this pilot called P.S. I Love You. It was filmed at the JW Marriott, and I'd forgotten about it. I thought it was just a failed pilot, but it wasn't. It was a television series with Greg Evigan and Connie Selica that ran for like 2 years, and the band was in it at the end of it. And there was a Dr. Charnel that said that she had felt Max Spears in her body. And I said, I know that feeling because I felt John in my body twice. And one of the times was when I was with Greg Evigan at the JW Marriott. Then I went back and I found the clip from it. And at the end of it, because from what I could see, from the little piece that I could see, they didn't actually credit the band. But at the end of it, the casting director's name appeared above my head, and her name was Elle.
Wow.
And I was like, how are they doing this? Am I just like, seriously, how are they doing this? I mean, definitely a person in the cutting room could have done it, right? But seriously, that was in the 90s.
Mm.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask, what do you say to someone who's basically like who wants to dive in, but they're just a little afraid because a lot of this is they feel is
Overwhelming.
yeah, it's
Overwhelming.
overwhelming, and they're also going against their own morals with even just having a thought of a lot of this, because this is like a lot of this goes against the grain, it goes against the norm. So what do you
Right.
say to those that are afraid, and
Because
how do they look for
Good question.
I would say, number one, if you want to know the truth, and I hate to quote the X-Files, it's out there and you can't find it. If you don't want to know the truth, then you're going to live a life under MK Ultra, and you will live and die asleep, and that's your choice. But if your
it?
choice is the pursuit of knowledge and the pursuit of the truth, then you have no fear, because I say be afraid of what you don't know.
Right.
You know, don't be afraid of what you're going to uncover, because what you're going to uncover is literally, it will set you free. First, it's going to piss you off. You're
Yes.
going to cry your ass off, cry oceans of tears when you find out that, that your whole family that you loved, betrayed you in some capacity, that they lied to you about stuff, that grandpa was hiding shit, you know. I mean, the truth, it will set you free. How do you think you're going to change your children? How do you think you're going to change society if
Mm.
you don't start researching the truth, and then you disseminate that truth, or the ability to disseminate that truth to your children? Unless this happens, unless it transpires, everything will stay the same. These Illuminatis will stay in power, and then your children will glamorize actors and singers, and then they'll get drugged down a satanic hole, and it'll just be keep going around and around and around.
Hmm.
So it's education, and it starts with you, and it starts with you doing shows like this so other people can see this. And then it starts with the children, and you go home and you tell your kids, hey, this crazy lady said she's 11 from Stranger Things. I actually believe her, because she's telling us that movies are real.
Hmm.
It starts with
Yeah,
that.
my kids are already asking me.
Tell them I said
They're
hi.
like, wait, what?
Tell them Penny said hi.
Actually, my son told me this to tell you he said hi.
You did?
He's
Okay,
like,
tell him what's his name?
Jalen.
Jalen.
Tell him I said hi back.
Gotcha.
Tell him I'll give him a big hug and a kiss.
Okay, so Penny, where can everybody find you?
Okay,
What can we
so
do to make a difference overall?
well, you guys are making a difference right
Hmm.
now. And I tell everyone, research. And if you have any questions, please text my phone. I won't answer unless you're in my contacts, but I give this message out to everybody on every show that I'm on. So if you have any questions, you just text my phone. Tell me who you are, because otherwise I'm going to block your ass. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so my phone number is area code 619-779-9771. And text my phone, say you are, if you have any questions, or if you have any intel that you want to impart to me, and say, hey, or anything that you want me to research, or anything you already have researched, or if you have missing memories, if you think you might be MK Ultra, and I'm talking about, we all are MK Ultra, but
Mhm.
like maybe you're like maybe a super soldier, or maybe you
Right.
have some extraordinary powers that you've realized that you have, and you're like, hey, is this real? I will help verify that for you. If you're a targeted individual, I will help verify that there is technology, advanced direct weaponry, laser weaponry. There's voice to skull, which they implant in you. There are implants that they put in your hands, in your sex organs, also, all over your body. I can verify some of these weaponries. I can actually put you in contact with some people that were former NSA, and direct your research. But again, I'm not going to do your research for you. So the research is incumbent upon you. And when I wanted to know, I have a strong connection with God. Some people call it source. I pray to the God of justice, righteousness, and truth. So if you're
Amen.
seeking that, then you'll get answers from that. If you're seeking the God of lies and deception, hey, he'll give you answers too. And there are these disparate, entities that are out there that,
I
They
love
call
how you put that.
they call them Satans. So, like in the Bible, it's not just one Satan. It's like they say they're legion. They are the Draco reptilians and the Greys. I believe are the Satans. Satans depicted in the Bible, and there's many other species. There's like 3,000 species, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I believe. There's like 3,000 species, not just a few.
Hmm.
But if you want to, if you want to read my blog, it's my name, Shepard, Shepard, and then the word entertainment blogspot.com. My web isn't as updated because it's a little harder to update it, but it's Shepard and then a hyphen, a little dash, the word entertainment.com. My Gmail, if you prefer to contact me, my Gmail is my name, Shepard, the word entertainment at gmail.com. If you want to watch me on Fridays, I'm on Dave Zublek's Dark Outpost from Central Standard Time from 10 to 1. I'm off next week, and I talk about Hollywood Fridays because I'm a Hollywood dark. I call myself the Hollywood dark journalist for the Dark Outpost.
I love it. Yes, and Penny's website is in its description. Yes, you have a friend in us. Anytime
I
you
love you
want
guys.
to.
Anytime,
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah.
Anytime.
I
I
love
love
it.
you,
Yeah.
all of
Yep.
you.
So yeah, we're gonna catch you on the flip. This is overtime with the flight room. Please, yes, dive deep into everything that she's talking about. If you don't believe it, Google search it. Even more, DuckDuckGo. If you found this podcast, you probably found it on accident because you really can't search the stuff we're talking about. So thank you for joining and all the above. Thank you, Penny. Thank
Thank you.
you, Boo Boy, Corey Mo, Keys, all that. We're gonna catch you on the flip. Peace,
All
y'all.
right.
Peace.
Peace.